Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of April 2024. I hope you are well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. Right, a couple of things before we begin. If the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That is link number 1 in the description box. Second link is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over on the Circle platform. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost aside from the subscription fee. Participate in classes that we're running over there and hang out with a truly extraordinary group of people. So if that sounds like it's something that might be of interest to you, that's link number 2. Link number 3 is to 3-month overviews that I've done for each of the signs. They run obviously from April to June, and they're covering quite a tumultuous period of time. So if you're interested in finding out how that might affect you on the collective level and work out how to navigate through it, that's link number 3. Avail yourself of them if you wish. They are there for you. So, Scorpio, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Scorpio, please? Right, we have the 10 of Cups. Oh, button blindness. We have the 10 of Cups in your recent past. Let's have a look at current energy for Scorpio, please. Oh, wait, goodness. We have the Page of Wands. And what about what's coming towards Scorpio, please? Thank you. 10 of Swords in reverse. Interesting. One of the reasons why it's interesting is because, well, we've got the World at the bottom of the deck. That's not actually what I was going to say. But one of the reasons why it's interesting is because we have this kind of weird liminal space between endings going on here. And I do feel like what we've got here is you actually navigating that quite comfortably. Not really a surprise. Let me just shuffle these cards and we'll get some clarifiers out. But there's no doubt at all in my mind that we are experiencing endings of a fairly profound sort. Whether these are endings that are affecting you personally or whether they are somewhat of an adjunct to you is not entirely clear right now. And I say that because the World is at the bottom of the deck right here. Now, the World is an ending in and of itself, but sometimes it can speak to the world full stop. You know, we've all been waiting for April. We have. If you've any idea about the astrology at all of this month, you'll know that it's really quite spectacular. I don't think that's too much of an exaggeration to call it spectacular. And certainly, as I'm recording this right now, I'm actually recording it during the lunar eclipse, so I don't know whether that's a good idea or not, but we are entering, we're walking straight into eclipse season, and these next couple of weeks do have somewhat of a liminal quality to them because we've got the endings associated with the lunar eclipse, and we've got that 2-week space before the solar eclipse happens, and we get more of a sense of where it is that we are going with things. So the energy could be quite funky, I think. But like I said, I don't think that this is necessarily anchoring itself to the solar eclipse, right? We're looking at the whole of April kind of spreading out into this liminal space between what is ending and breaking down and being visibly observed to do that, and what's coming in, which is not quite ready yet. Now, let me stop chuntering on and get some cards on the table. Tell me about this 10 of Cups, please. We have the Emperor, that's Aries in the major arcana, and we have the World again. Interesting. Tell me about the Page of Wands. Got the Tower in reverse. That's you, Scorpio. And we have the King of Pentacles. Goodness, we've got 3 cards, all came out at the same time. We've got the 9 of Cups, we've got the 3 of Cups, and we've got the 7 of Swords. We can see them all there. Queen of Cups is at the bottom of the deck. Yeah, excuse me a second. I very much like this for you, Scorpio, because it's got that quality of exactly what I was kind of feeling as I was turning the cards over, which is that you of, and maybe that there are a few signs who will also be here with you in this, but certainly not the majority, both have an understanding of what is happening. And I think in any situation where we have endings and breakdowns, that's going to be something that Scorpio is going to be able to navigate probably a little better, simply because of Scorpio as a collective ruling the kind of breakdown, the decay of things, you know. But I do feel like there's a lot of it's this the I versus we, right? Of Aries versus Libra. There is how it affects you, and it affects you a little less, versus how it affects everybody else and it affects them a little more. So this reading is about you, but it's also not about you. It's about you, but it's also about your position within a group of people, your family, your friends, your community, whatever, and how you help them navigate through, if I can put it that way. So we start off with that 10 of Cups. It is the card of community. It's the card of family. It's the card of everybody coming together and feeling supported, right, emotionally. We've got the Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck there, which is, for me, a card of Cancer. But it speaks to this kind of really being a part of something quite meaningful. And this sense of community could have come about in any sort of way. I would say could well be family, but it could be people that you've been building up around you for a while. Not in a sense of, a wall or anything like that, but just people who are trusted. You might have found in the last few months that you've actually weeded out some of those people who weren't, and dealt with some of the issues that came up around that. It feels like there's been complex dynamics between you and people, whilst this process of kind of weeding out the people who shouldn't be there was going on. And now that those people are gone, there's a simplicity that's come in and taken its place, and now there's something that feels very strong and very emotionally resilient within the group of people that you spend the most time with. Like I said, for some of you that will be family, but for others of you, I mean, this could be an online digital community. It could be anything, right? You have to take it as it resonates to you. But that sense of support, right? You've got somebody, but they've also got you, in a wider sense than just you and your partner, or you and a sibling or whatever, right? This is a solid, these are my people. And we've got the Emperor and the World here, and I actually really like that combination, because the Emperor feels to me like you. It's that sense of being able to seemingly with ease create order out of chaos. Now, we talk about Scorpio indicating chaos quite a lot, and actually as you get into the darker part of the year, there are far more energies of chaos than there are of order. But I think it's about the way that the paradigm has been shifting, right? So if everything's innately chaotic, then you, as somebody who innately understands that chaos, is able to stand strong and see the point of it, see what is required. I feel like I've talked about Scorpio being a leader quite a lot over the last year or so, and I know some Scorpios were kind of confused by that. But when everything's starting to break down and decay, and you understand that process, and you also understand that it is a process that we arrive at so that we may renew, we may be reborn, that sort of thing. There's considerably less fear there for you than there are for other signs. Those, for example, fixed signs, we find this, very untenable, because they are all about, well, you're a fixed sign, right? But they're about carrying the season. Now, if the season is about going into the darkness for Scorpio, as it is, then quite frankly, you just get what's going on. You understand what's going on. And we've got the World card here. Right? The World card representing not only the 4 fixed signs, but also this sense that everything has a cycle. Of all of the symbolism on this card here, it's this wreath around the edge. Like, everything has a cycle. Everything has to die so that it can be reborn. And you seem to be presiding over this energy of chaos and going, this is totally normal. This is okay. This is fine. We will be all right. You're kind of marshalling people together. And this dovetails really beautifully with what I've been seeing for Scorpio. Certainly in the 3-month overviews, I saw that considerably, but I've also seen it kind of building over the course of the last 6 months. And this is why it was so important to have the complexities in the relationships within your collective, within your community, come to light so that they could be dealt with, and then those people could be moved out of the way, because they don't form part of where you're going or what happens next or any of that sort of thing. And it feels to me like Scorpio has intuitively known that. And so now everything's much more simple. You understand what's going on. You seem to be holding this really strong but incredibly compassionate, almost psychic position. And it's the understanding. It's the understanding of what is happening here. So when we move into your current energy, we have the Page of Wands. And I would imagine you're very busy, Scorpio. I don't know what you're doing, but you're very, very busy. The Page of Wands is, for me, a card of active preparation for something, right? We're not just musing on something. We're not just thinking about something. It's, I have a whole list of things that I need to do, and I am getting them done. I really like the way that Anatorians depicted this Page of Wands here, because when we go through the hierarchy of the suit of wands, we have different aspects of this bonfire, which she's collecting the wood to make here, occurring before we end up at the King of Wands, who is able to take that fire and do something with it. But there must be preparation first. And we have the Tower in reverse, and we have the King of Pentacles. And I really like this for you. I mean, often when cards are reversed, they're talking about delays or obstructions to that energy flowing neatly. For me, it feels more like you're armed with enough information that you can take evasive maneuvers toward this tower here. And it's not to say that you're fighting the tower or pushing it away or anything like that. It's just like the recognition that everything goes in a cycle, and the recognition that in order for that to happen, the tower's going to be involved somewhere, but you don't have to be broadsided by it, because that's what the energy of the tower generally does for a lot of people. It's that broadsiding energy that you did not see coming, where the universe kind of whips the rug out from underneath you, and before you know it, you've flipped 90 degrees. Now, that is always a beneficial energy. I would stake my flag. It may not feel like it at the time, but it is always a beneficial energy, because it takes you off in a direction that you would not have gone in otherwise. The thing is, with it being paired here with the King of Pentacles, I feel like Scorpio's everywhere. Like, your antennae are tweaking, and you're like, this shit's coming. It's all coming. And it's like, we don't have to be broadsided by this. There are things that we can do. Now, what it is that you're doing could be very, very different, look very different for each of you. I mean, for some of you, it might simply be, I'm going to, go into a state of daily meditation that is really, really deep. I'm going to keep myself level. I'm going to keep myself calm. I'm also going to keep myself open and aware for information that is coming in from, different places. But it's this King of Pentacles, this longer term view, that I find really interesting, because it's understanding that everything has a process. This is what the King of Pentacles does really, really well. He breaks things down into their component parts, and it's like, right, well, in order for me to get from here to here, these things have got to happen. They've got to happen in this order. There needs to be no shortcuts. This is what is happening. There's a certain amount of visionary energy that is required for a King of Pentacles to do that. But it's about hard work, and we might well be talking around the area of resources. So where you put your money, you know, in terms of your physical resources, you know, what is the state of your home? Are there things that you need for it that potentially might be difficult to get hold of in the next wee while? We could be talking about, you know, actively getting out and on the land and doing things. I mean, spring is here, and maybe you're like, right, I need to turn over that part of my garden to growing things. That needs to happen now. I need to get stuck in and do it. This idea of gardens and community gardens and all that sort of stuff has come up really, really strongly for a lot of signs, interestingly enough, over the next 3 months. We've got that combination of a very grounded energy between the Emperor and the King of Pentacles. I mean, these are rock-like energies of strength and abilities to be able to endure and withstand. But they've got their eye on where it is that they're going in the future. Now, I'm just going to pull up this triple goddess here. Because like I said, none of this is about fighting the tower. It's about recognizing ahead of time that the tower energy is coming in and it will affect everyone. And knowing what you do, being a Scorpio, what can you do to align yourself with the new paradigm that certainly, it feels to me in April, is starting to show its face. Put it that way. Being Pentacles, we can also be looking at, you know, just where you put your energy, full stop. What it is that you invest in, what it is that is valuable to you and will be so valuable that you need to commit yourself to it moving forwards. Starting from now. Maybe that's Tower in reverse, please. We've got the Sun. We've got the Sun, interestingly, showing up sideways. And we've got the Eight of Wands, and we have the Death card at the bottom of the deck. Right? This idea that you have advance notice by virtue of being a Scorpio and being, you know, alert to changes in energy and changes in all sorts of things, like just by being you, but recognizing that endings are coming. And how can we best protect ourselves? You know, this Sun card in reverse, or not in reverse, sideways. The Sun is an incredibly beautiful card of warmth and joy and positivity, generally speaking, right? Showing up sideways, she's fallen over. We know that we're moving into difficult times. There's no doubt about that. She's not showing upside down, though. She's not showing up in the reverse. She's showing up sideways. It's that sense that on a collective level, everything's about to turn. Right? In fact, just put it around like that so I can illustrate it better, right? I'm always talking about the tower as taking you 90 degrees. Well, here we've got the Sun, who's just like flipped 90 degrees. There's a whole pole shift rabbit hole you can go down if you're interested, which actually goes very nicely with this, but we'll leave that for another time. We need to think about what Leo represents. Leo represents the orthodoxy. Leo represents the sun in the middle of everything that we can come and warm ourselves with, and we use to, you know, grow our crops, and, you know, there would be no life without the sun. But if the sun is turning 90 degrees, if the positivity of the moment is turning 90 degrees, if the sun is actually falling over, metaphorically speaking here, then it's not quite as powerful as it could be. But Leo also represents bringing people together, community, the joy that is felt of people belonging. Now, your advanced warning of whatever it is on an energetic level that is happening right now and will certainly happen, you know, continue on into April, is allowing you to ameliorate what could be a very bad job for a lot of people. And these are the people that you care about. See, the Eight of Wands is literally a card of communication, incoming communication, something that's hitting you very, very fast. And the sense that you are able to see beyond the crisis of the moment into what is both necessary to navigate through that, but also emerge out the other side. At least, if not, stable as you were before all of this happened, certainly more stable than most will be on the other side, if that makes sense. There's tremendous upheaval on its way in, and I would be very surprised if there's any Scorpio out there who hasn't been, picking up the signals of it, because that's exactly what these cards are talking about here. So when I said at the beginning that this reading is about you, but it's kind of not about you, which is a theme that we've seen coming up for Scorpio quite a few times over the last 6 months. That interesting, just little shunt in perspective. Yes, it's about you and you're incredibly important, but it's about the ways that you are able to ameliorate this process for the people around you. I hope that this is making sense. Because then when we move into April, we've got the Ten of Swords in reverse. And I think what's really interesting about this is that it's going to be very difficult for people to actually perceive quite what it is that is happening. If the Ten of Swords had come out in the upright like that, bearing in mind that the swords represent the mind, they represent information, rationality, logic, these kind of things. But that sense of information spearing us and leaving us for dead, like here, and we have there, right? There's a clarity that comes with that I think is going to be missing in April. So it feels like there's bad shit sort of happening, and again, this isn't another one of the things that I kind of felt quite strongly about April, is that everybody's affected, but it's not like, for example, oh shit, my marriage is broken down and now I'm getting divorced, and it's like, very particular to your situation. It's more like things that are happening on a global level that have personal consequences for everybody who is living, right? In terms of how it affects their lives. Things of a Taurian nature generally being highlighted quite strongly here, certainly in terms of the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction that's happening later on in the month and whatnot. So it's a question of your resources, your energetic resources, your material resources, your emotional resources, all of these sorts of things. Like, because you feel to me like you are strong, you are the rock, you've seen all of this coming, you know what is required of you to move through it. It's about creating a space for other people so that they can also benefit from what you see, what you feel moving forwards. Nobody's really going to have a clear idea of exactly what is going on, I feel, except you, Scorpio, because we're in your world now, breaking down, decay, degradation, right, of stuff and things, systems, processes. But it really does feel like it's a lack of clarity. So we know that there are things that are going wrong. We know that there are things that are uncomfortable. We know that there are things that are directly affecting our day-to-day existence, and perhaps the potential for a longer term, comfort and whatnot in the future. And that almost certainly would lead to a state of confusion for people around you. It's like, is this it? Is this the extent of it? Is this the tower hitting? There's a lot of information floating around, and there's a lot of ways that people are being speared, but the extent to which this is properly an end, I don't think will be perceived by people clearly. But there will be a lot of confusion, and there will be then, by extension, an awful lot of emotional upset. But here we have the Nine of Cups, we have the Three of Cups, and we have the Seven of Swords, and I do feel like those cards relate to you specifically, Scorpio, because we have a certain amount of... Well, look, I described the nines as kind of the way that we manage whatever suit they are representing. So in the case of the Nine of Cups, it's how you manage your emotions. Your emotions, tip top. You know exactly who you are, what you're doing, what is going on, what is important. It's this ability to be able to recognize what is important and carry that through. That seems to be really strong here. But it does also mean, I think, that you are going to have quite a magnetic quality about you in April. Like, because the Three of Cups is about emotional support. You are the emotional support. Whether you volunteered yourself to be such or not, there is a very different flavour about the way that you are emotionally processing whatever this is versus the way that everybody else is doing it. And it's so... I just noticed that. I just shuffled the deck and I've got the Ten of Cups at the bottom of the deck here. It's the perspective that you can bring. It's the emotional calm that you bring that everybody else is going to be looking for. Again, you are the rock, whether you're aware of it or not, Scorpio. Tell me about this. Eight of Cups. Interesting. It's helping people move away, from that. Five of Cups. Now, the Five of Cups is a Scorpio card. I mean, we don't have to explain to a Scorpio what that feels like. That's part of the Scorpio experience. It's extremely difficult to navigate for you collectively as a sign, but also individually. And I do think a lot of what's gone on for you in the last 2 years has been about working through that. Now, that's not just because the universe was punishing you or whatever. This has given you a very real understanding, and that seems to me to be very important, and a compassion, in fact, for witnessing other people in a state of grief, right? Any kind of loss whatsoever incurs a grieving process that comes after it. And it doesn't matter whether it's a bereavement or whether it's a divorce, or whether it's any one of a number of things. And I can't tell you the amount of material things that I've lost that I grieved about. A loss generally will have some sort of grieving process associated with it, and it is how important that thing is to you that dictates how big the grieving process is. Now, for a lot of Scorpios, the grief was being around things like lost childhood, lost innocence, sort of coming into the world not getting the kind of care that your soul knew that you wanted, or that your soul expected when it got here. Well, it probably didn't, right? Because you pick your parents and all that kind of thing. But the soul's always like keeping notes, I feel, at least. And so being a sign that deals with this as part of their archetypal experience puts you in a position of knowledge and power when it comes to helping guide other people through it, right? So we're trying to get people away from, interestingly, there's an eclipse there. It's not very clear on this, but that's supposed to be an eclipse, right? How you can guide people away from getting stuck in this energy, because ultimately that's what the Five of Cups talks about, and start moving towards where you are. You are a teacher, you are a guide, you are the light in the darkness for people. This is very, very interesting how much it dovetails with the 3-month readings that I did for you. You are going to be a source of emotional support to people, because in a world where everybody's kind of losing their minds a little bit, the people who are not are going to stand out very, very strongly. So without changing your position, without doing anything, Scorpio, suddenly it's like there's a fucking light above your head. It's just fucking beacon, lighthouse, whatever. And people are going to respond to that. Now, I think it's very important for you to be discerning about who you bring into the fold. You would be anyway, because you're a Scorpio. But I feel like that weeding out of people that's happened in the last 6 months has been a really huge part in that process. Nevertheless, in April, lots of people are going to be looking to you to provide guidance. And the interesting thing is like just how much of this is cup related, right? This is your element, this is water. We're not talking about the mind, Right? People are going to try and, to explain, people are going to try and make sense of things on an intellectual level, right? They want the actual information about how this is actually going to affect them both now and in the long term. And they're using the wrong organ to try and process this. That's why they can't achieve this state of peace that you have. And that's why you're going to stand out so much. We have the Seven of Swords there. And it feels like it's quite a nuanced addition to the table, because that card generally talks about deceit. I mean, it can talk about strategy and it can talk about, taking risks and things like that, but I don't feel like that's actually why it's here. It feels like the revelation of deceit being the thing that destabilizes everybody so hard. Almost like too much information, if I'm honest. What about this Seven of Swords? Yeah, well, fuck me, we've got a shitload of cards here. Right, so what do we have? We have the Page of Wands again, we have the Empress, we have the Three of Wands, and we have the Emperor. I really do feel like you, Scorpio, are stepping up in a really incredible way this month. Ace of Wands at the bottom of the deck. You see, everybody's trying to make sense of things. Everybody's trying to process what has happened. And I don't know what this is. I have some ideas from readings that I've done for people that cover this period. I really don't think it's going to be one thing. I think it's going to be a multitude of things. But here you are, being represented by both the Emperor and the Empress. And that in itself is interesting to me, because whenever we see these pairings show up, whether it's the Empress and the Emperor or the High Priestess and the Magician, there's the implication of the Fool. Because these are both the earthly and the heavenly parents of the Fool. Well, we're beyond, the heavenly parents. Now we're into the realm of the earthly parents. It's like the paradigm shift that you've been sensing for quite a long time is here. It's very, very close. But there's a process to go through to actually birth the Fool. And I think this is what you innately understand, right? I think I referred to you, Scorpio, in the 3-month overview. I'm sure it was you. I'm sure I referred to you as a doula. Because it felt very much like this was what was happening here. You were almost like a midwife to the situation. There's something very powerful and very authoritative about you in the month of April, which will be significant in the people that you're around, because there's so little of that elsewhere, right? So you're already kind of visible in that respect. But for people who don't understand the process, the act of childbirth, the act of birthing anything, can appear incredibly violent and distressing. What makes the difference in that situation is having someone who's been there before, who's done it many times, who understands what this is. And, whether you've done this many times in past lives, negotiated your way through this, or whether you simply have been given the gift of navigating chaos. I'm always saying that stuff doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. There's a reason for it. And if you can find the gift in whatever hideous shit you've been through, then you're doing really well. You're doing what you're here for. Honestly, I don't really know a Scorpio whose life hasn't been hard, particularly in childhood. It seems to me that it's part of the experience. But here, where it matters. There's something about the chaos and your ability to be able to navigate it and get out the other side that is you having done this again and again and again, got through crisis again and again and again, and now be pointing the way. The midwife is overseeing, the doula is overseeing. They are, you know, both of those roles are points of experience in a situation that could otherwise be very frightening for everybody else involved. I mean, fucking hell, look at this. We've got Page of Wands, Three of Wands, we've got the Ace of Wands here, we've got the Emperor appearing to have a wand in his hand, we've got the fucking Empress also with a wand in her hand. And all of this is kind of congregating together. All of these energies are coalescing together because you're not focused on the crisis. You're focused on the fact that this means that the Fool is on his way. And so, of course, you would feel like this. This is really interesting, Scorpio. Really, really interesting. I'm going to go over to the extended now. So if you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Circle or you can do that on Vimeo. It's entirely up to you. I would love to see you in either place. But if this is where we part ways, that's absolutely fine. Just be aware that the training ground that has been your life for the longest time has been preparing you for something. And I think in April, we're arriving at the point of the preparation. And it's this. You're literally overseeing this birth. Amazing. Right. I am actually going to go now. Fucking good work, Scorpio. Like, I am here for this all day long. And I, for one, am very grateful that you're out there in the world doing what you're doing. So please do keep it up because it's important. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.